What's on the menu when it comes to food for your cat? We dedicate this episode of the Paw Report to talk about all things cat nutrition. A researcher from the University of Illinois is our guest, and she'll point out what to look for on that pet food label. Stay with us.
It's almost impossible to imagine life without internet today. It keeps us connected to work, school, and loved ones, no matter where they are. Fidium Fiber Internet now serves over 1 million locations, providing reliable, consistent service that keeps these connections strong. From vibrant cities to quiet rural areas, fiber broadband is a key driver of economic growth. Fidium is dedicated to supporting communities and enhancing lives through this essential technology. Learn more at fidiumfiber.com.
At Tender Touch Grooming, we groom dogs of all sizes and breeds tenderly. Our team pampers your furry friend with care, because every pet deserves a tender touch. Appointments are available via text at 217-317-9489.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Paw Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
Do we have the episode for feline parents out there watching the Paw Report today? This episode is all dedicated to cats, specifically the nutrition of cats and what they should and shouldn't be eating. And our special guest on this episode of the Paw Report, a first-time guest, we are proud to have Dr. Patricia Massae with us, and she is a researcher from the University of Illinois. Thank you so much. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Sort of. I'm going to let you put the spin on it. Thank you for your information, your time, and all that good stuff for traveling to WEIU to talk about cat nutrition on the Paw Report. The first question is always the hardest. Tell us about yourself and your journey to the U of I and to the United States.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sure.
It's always a pleasure to talk about feline nutrition. It's something that I'm very passionate about. So, as you mentioned, not from here, as by my accent, I'm from Brazil. I did my undergrad and I graduated as a veterinary there at the University of São Paulo. I did my master and my PhD, and I focused on feline nutrition for that. And I did under the guidance of Dr. Brunetto. During my PhD, I also was able to receive a scholarship to come here at the United States and stay as a visiting scholar under the guidance of Dr. Godoy. After that, I went back to Brazil, finished my PhD, and then I was invited to come back as a postdoc. After staying a couple of years as a postdoc, and then I applied for the position that I'm currently in, that is the research assistant professor. So I have been here at the University of Illinois over 6 years, and I have been working with pet nutrition over 12 years.
Oh my, well, you know, if they keep asking you back and back, you must be doing something right. Well, today we're talking about cat nutrition, and I think probably the first question to ask is, what are the eating habits of cats? Is it something, you know, we spend a lot of time on this show talking about dogs naturally, so we got to give cats a little love, but what are their eating habits? Do they eat just 1 or 2 meals a day?
So when we think about eating habits of cats, we have to remember where they come from and how long has it been since we share lives with them. So cats are obligate carnivores, and in the past they used to hunt and prey to receive their food. So what's very common for us to have cats in our house or outside our house, in fact, chasing mice and protecting the corn or any kind of food that we have outside our farms. And then if you think about that, we didn't really change a lot how they eat and how they food or their behavior. So cats used to prey small mice or small bird or even insects, so very small food a lot of times a day, and that is a habit that they still have. So a lot of owners complain, oh, my cat is always begging for food, they always meowing, complaining, and that's because it's a behavior that they have. They still have that feeling that they need to eat a lot of times a day, and they really like to eat small food over the day. So one of the recommendations that I have for pet owners is always to, if you cannot be feeding like 10 times a day, 5 times a day, that I don't think anybody can do that, buy an automatic feeder that are able to provide small portions of food over the day, especially if you're outside of your house. And nowadays there is automatic feeder for dry food, but also for wet food. And the ones for wet food, they are refrigerated, so they keep the food safe for longer periods of time, even though they are wet. So yeah, that is a behavior that they have. It's not gonna kill your cat if you only give them 1 time a day, but they might be complaining over the day.
Right, a lot of meowing going on.
So that is the thing, like if you really want them to be happy, maybe you should portion small portion food over the day.
What's the really important nutritional components that we should be looking at?
So again, cats are obligate carnivores, and that is something that we have to keep in our mind. And because of that, and because how long has been that we share our lives with them, and because we didn't really change a lot of their diet and their behavior due to the domestication of the cats, they still have the need to receive a lot of nutrients that comes from animal tissue. So especially protein source, fat source that needs to come from animal tissue. The 3 ones that are very important is taurine, that is amino acid, and amino acid is just basically part of the protein. And there is a fat component also that is the acid, arachidonic acid, that also comes from animal tissue. And the final one that is very important is the vitamin A, but this vitamin A has to be pre-made because the cat cannot convert the beta-carotene from plant-based source to the vitamin A that they can use for themselves. So again, all those 3 components come from animal tissue, and it's gonna be hard for you to source from other source. You have to purify from to add it to a diet that doesn't have animal proteins or animal fat source.
What else should a pet owner be thinking about when they're trying to decide on a food? And what I mean by that is, how active is your cat? Are they spayed? Are they neutered? Age, weight? I mean, there's probably a laundry list of things that pet owners probably don't think of. They just go to the store, they buy a bag that looks good, and then away they go. But there's some things that people should think about.
Yeah, so the good thing that the pet food industry nowadays, they provide us a food that is complete and balanced. And complete means that has all the nutrients that your animal needs, and balanced means that has in the correct amount that your animal needs. So if you buy a food that is already made and is in the market that say that is complete and balanced, you don't need to worry about having deficient or have to formulate it or add anything to that diet for that to be complete and balanced for your animal. So that is one good thing. The thing that I think they should be worrying is, one, do your cat like and enjoy that food? Because again, it doesn't really matter if the diet's well formulated and have everything that they need, but my cat doesn't enjoy it, doesn't eat that diet. So one, try to learn what kind of flavor your cat like or what kind of ingredient they like. And then after that, you can choose from all the options that you have available, which one will work best for your cat. When you talk about age, again, it's very important to know if they are growing or if it's a mother that is pregnant or producing milk. They're gonna have different needs for a cat that is just adult, that is staying in your house and not doing very much. So if you're working with animals that is growing or if it's a mother, you need to provide them more of nutrition than the animals that is just adult and maintaining the body weight. And again, you don't need to worry because again, the pet food company already provide food that are available for those specific categories. The only thing that we don't have available is specific for older cats, and we should be working on that because we know that when we get old, in the same way for animals, we have different needs. So it's normally when the cat get old, they start to losing body weight, they start to losing fat and muscle mass, and we want them to keep that. So in that point of their life, you think about it, adding a high protein collet or a high digestible fat component in this diet. For the other times of their life, you need to think about how active is the animal.
Right.
That is one thing. Like if my cat doesn't do much and they is sleeping the whole time, they're gonna need way less calorie per day or energy per day than an animal that is all crazy, working around and doing a lot of things. And that goes if they live inside or outside too. We always think about animals that goes outside. They normally have more energy because they are doing more and they're walking more. But at the same time, this animal might be preying and hunting by themselves. They might not need as much nutrient for us because they're already doing by themselves. So again, what is gonna work for each cat is gonna be really dependent of the individual that you are talking about. So like you have to look the animal and see how they behave, how much energy they spend, and what they need or don't need, and then you can go from there.
Do you really need to look at weight of a cat? What is ideal? Because you don't want to overfeed.
Yeah.
And that's real easy to do.
Yep.
Dogs and cats. So what is really the ideal weight that you would like to see in felines?
So there is not an ideal weight because it's like, again, we have a different size of cats. So at the same time, you can have a cat that weighs 4 pounds and is obese, but you have another cat that is 4 pounds and he's super skinny. So I don't worry too much about the body weight. I worry more about body condition score. So there is a scale for us to evaluate the body condition score of the animal to see what is the percentage of fat that they have in their body. And it's very hard for owners that never saw this the scale to understand what is fat and what is lean and what is ideal. So one of the things that I learned as an undergrad during my master and my PhD was how to easily translate that to the owner, because we want the owner to be able to see that, because if the animal is losing weight or gaining weight, that can mean that have some disease or some problems going on, and we have to intervene as a veterinarian. So one of the easy way, if you close your hand and you feel the bones in your hand, that is how you're supposed to feel the ribs of your animal. So you're supposed to feel the bones. So you're supposed to feel each of the ribs without having a lot of cover of fat on top, but you're not supposed to be feeling in a way that you feel gaps in between, because that means that they are too skinny. So being too skinny or being too fat is a problem. The other thing, how cats accumulate fat is very different from dogs, because normally when we see a fat dog, we see like they kind of round.
Yes, they are.
Cats are not like that. The cats accumulate in the belly and they have a lot of loose skin in the belly. So you might see from the top and the cat looks fine, but when you see from the side, you see the huge belly and you see like, oh, he's not that skinny as I thought. So I think it is important for you, if you go to a veterinarian, to ask them, how can I evaluate the body condition of my cats? Because it's not about the number, it's about the shape. And I think that's worked for us too. It's not about a number in the scale, it's about how much muscle mass you have, how much fat components you have in your body.
I think I have got a little cat on me too. Well, let's talk about different types of food: dry food, wet food, dehydrated food, frozen food. There's so many options out there for cat owners. Let's talk about briefly the pros of each of those variances.
Oh yeah, so again, there is not a ideal food for all cats. There is an ideal food for your household, for your pet, and what you can and cannot do. So we know that dry food is very convenient because, one, we can just put it in a corner in your house. We don't need to frozen, we don't need to refrigerate, we don't need to warm up, we don't need to do much about it. And it's very stable, so we can pour, and then we don't need to immediately toss it because you know that it's gonna be stable there and you're gonna keep the nutrition value. So dry food is a very easy diet for us to do, but when you think about cats again and how they used to eat prey, and prey are 80% water and just 20% of the nutrients. So like, cats used to receive a lot of the water from the diet. And then when we transition to a dry food that is only 10% of water, we change from 80% to 10%. We need to make sure that the cat's still drinking the water in some other way. So like maybe placing more water bowls or water fountain to make sure that they are drinking the amount of water. You can also put water on top of your dry food. So that is the only thing that you should be concerning when you giving only dry food. Make sure that your cat has access to water in another form. The wet food, we know that if you open the can or you open the bag, they're not gonna be good after that. So they need to eat very fast. So for wet food, it should be portioned, small portion, and make sure that they eat in 30 minutes, 1 hour maximum, and then tossing everything else, because there is not a lot of preservative in that food that is gonna make sure that the food is stable for a longer period of time. So that might work for people that are able to provide food
And be there.
Yeah, and be there, or they can buy an automatic feeder that has a refrigerator that guarantee that they're gonna be stable. So again, it's gonna really depend what you can do, what works for your household, and also what your cat likes or not.
What about mixing up textures? So let's say you feed your cat dry food, and they like that. But can you mix up maybe dry in the morning and then do wet or dehydrated or frozen or homemade in the evening? Is it okay? I guess it goes back to the nutrients. As long as they're getting the amount of nutrients they need, it's okay?
So yeah, again, goes back to the nutrient, but you have to remember each diet is formulated a little bit different. So not necessarily you giving half of a dry food and half of wet food would maybe work. What we normally recommend, if you don't know how to formulate it, or you don't really know, you don't want to worry about like having the correct amount of nutrient, is keeping 90% of a diet that is completely balanced, that is going to be your main food, and 10% of something else. So there's something else, can be the wet food, can be treats, can be anything else, and that it will guarantee that you're not going to be changing the formula of the main food source, and you're going to be providing all the nutrients and also maintain the complete imbalance of the main food.
When I go to get the food, should I really pay attention to the label? Should I look at food that may be backed by science or a national pet organization? Is that important?
So again, if the food is already in the market and they say that they're completely balanced, you don't need to worry about deficiencies and having all the complete nutrients and being balanced. That is one thing. But I, particularly when I go to buy food, I don't want to only give my cat the minimal. I don't want any to have all they're gonna survive with that food. I want to provide health and all the benefits that the food can provide. And that comes from additive, and that comes from science. So yes, if you think about it like what I can add more to my diet, not only making sure that my cat's surviving, but being healthy and have other benefits, then you should be looking about what other additives that can have in this diet, and that I've been looking in the label if that diet has those ingredients that I can be giving to my animals. So yeah, research is very important. And I'm biased because I work with the research, so
right.
I would say that research is the foundation for a good diet. So you should be looking about high quality of ingredient, high quality of food, and also balance in your diet. So yeah, research is a very important component.
Yes, coming from the researcher. You also see highly digestible sometimes on packaging. What does that mean?
So high digestible is just very easy way to say that. You provide the food to an animal, and you measure how much food they are consuming, and in the end you measure how much they are eliminating, so how much is going out in urine and feces. So what is in between is what the animals is keeping in their bodies. So digestibility means how much of the diet they are using by themselves. So the higher digestible, more of that food they are using for themselves to have the nutrients that they need, and also all the health benefits. So less being eliminated, so they are losing less in the feces, in urine. So that is a good thing. Again, high digestible is great when you think about like animals that are sick, that are not eating a huge portion, or senior animals that we talk about that they need to have keep their muscle mass, or animals that are growing. But if you think about obese animal, you might not want a high digestible diet. You might want to add something that is going to reduce the digestibility, so they can eat that diet without
maybe grains.
Yeah, they can have more fibers that comes from grains or plant source, and that will help them keep their body weight and even lose weight. So not always we want to have a very high digestible diet.
What food should cats avoid? We've talked about a lot of protein, high protein, but is there things that you say, no, I wouldn't feed that to my cat?
So there is a big no about toxic food. So we know that garlic, onion, grapes, raisin, and also chocolate and coffee are toxic for pets. So these are big no-no. There's someone that say, oh, my cat already ate some of those ingredients and they didn't have anything, but about toxicity is how much they ate. So if they eat in a high amount, then they have problem. If they just eat small, they might not have problem. But the thing, I would not recommend you making your cat get used to something that is toxic for them, because eventually they can eat in a higher volume and they can have problems. So those are things that I will always say, no, please don't show to them, don't make them get used to it, not gonna give those. The other part is if they have allergy, because we know some proteins cats can have allergy to some sorts of protein, and that is going to be no for that specific animal. The other one is intolerance. Some of the cats are intolerant to milk, so lactose intolerance, similar to humans. So it's not all cats that are intolerant to lactose, but the same way, not all humans are intolerant to milk. But there is a higher percent of cats, especially in their adult life, that they are intolerant to lactose. So if you provide milk or cheese or something and you see that your cat start to have diarrhea, vomit, or other symptoms, you might consider not giving that to your animal. But if they are fine, then that's fine.
What about table scraps? You know, it's so tempting to always give your favorite pet a little something from the table.
That is a huge problem, especially like you think about it, like again, when you think about sharing life with your animals, giving them food is a big part of we sharing love, right? But the thing is, if you provide a lot of the calories that they need through these little things that you're adding to the diet, you might disbalance the complete imbalance that you provide for your food, and that can be a problem. So again, keeping the 90-10% rule, so like 9% comes from something that is complete imbalance, and 10% can be something else, and that will be safe. So you can, that is fine. I think everyone does that. But like again, you need to think about the amount that you provide, and also avoid those toxic food and things that they might be intolerant or if they have allergy.
Maybe it's a strange question, but can cats be vegetarian?
So that is a good thing to ask. There is a way for you to formulate a diet that is completely in balance for cats for them to be vegetarian. But again, you have to think about how cats are and what they need. And I think when an owner comes to me and they really want that, and there is no way for me to make them change their mind, it's my job to also make sure that they are providing to their cats a complete and balanced diet. So if I cannot change their mind, I should be able to say, this is a diet that is completely imbalanced and you can give to your pet, because that is going to be safer for their pet than the owner trying to figure out by themselves and maybe giving something that is not balanced, and then the cat's going to be deficient or have other health problems. So I think if you have the knowledge and you cannot make the owner change their mind and they really want that, it's your job to make sure that the cat is receiving the best diet that they can possibly receive.
What if you feed your cat something? How do you know if they're allergic to it? Do they show some sort of symptoms?
Yeah, so they can have skin symptoms. So you can see like they can be itchy, they can have redness, they also can have diarrhea or can have vomit. So the symptoms is going to vary, it's going to be similar to humans. Not all symptoms are the same. But again, if you suspected that your cat has some allergies to some component in the diet, just eliminate that component and see if the symptoms improve. If they improve, then you know that this is the ingredient that it should be avoiding. There is also elimination diet that is veterinarians can do for you. So it comes from like, you just provide very basic 1 or 2 or 3 ingredients and supplementation, and then you'll be adding ingredients on top of that until you have a complete and balanced diet, so you know what your cat cannot eat. But if you don't want to do that, just like see in your diet what is the main protein source, because normally we are allergic to protein, and then change that. So if you, for example, you're feeding a diet that is chicken based, maybe change to a fish based and see if the symptoms improve.
It's so funny that you said that, because you walk down the cat food aisle and the flavors are beef, chicken, a white fish. Is any one better than the other, or is it just a flavor thing?
It's not one better than the other, because again, you're not going to be looking only at the protein source, but also the fat component or the other nutrients. So like, it's not like you can have a good diet with like chicken base, and you can have a not so good diet with chicken base. So it's not the ingredient, it's the formula. So I think there is not a bad ingredient, there is bad formulas.
So as we wrap up here, we've got about a minute. Let's just recap again. Best thing to look for on that label as you're going up and down that food aisle? What should you be looking for to get the best nutrition for your kitty?
You should be looking if you're buying a completely balanced diet. That is the main one. Because there is, especially for wet food, some of the wet foods are treats. They are not completely balanced. So you might be thinking, oh, this is completely balanced, but it's not. So you have to look in the label, complete imbalance.
And it says that.
It says that, completely imbalanced. And normally say completely imbalanced for a specific life stage. So
okay, good.
that is something that you should be looking if you want to provide that as a main source of nutrients for your animal. The other thing is think about what my cat likes to eat, because it doesn't really matter. My cats really enjoy beef flavor, for example. And he might hate fish flavor. So there is no way for me, even if I want them to eat fish flavor, he's not gonna eat. So I can buy it, I'm gonna put it in the bowl, and he's not gonna eat. So find something that your cats enjoy. Texture is very important, because that is something, especially if you have a kitty growing up, you think about texture, you should be exposing them to different texture and different moist and different flavors, because they get used to that. And when they get senior or older, or if they have some disease, it's easy for you to transition from one diet to a different diet, because they're not going to have aversion for any type of flavor, texture, or anything. It's very hard for you to do that if they are already adults and they are not used to these different textures.
So the bottom line is complete and balanced.
Complete and balanced, and have all the nutrients that you want, and then you can focus on what you want to add.
Great. Well, Dr. Patricia Massae Oba, correct? Why don't you say it?
Patricia Massae.
Much better than me. Thank you so much for
you so
joining
much
the
for
Paul
having
Report.
me.
Some great information, and all the best to you as you continue your research, studies, and teaching at the University of Illinois. Thank you so much for joining us to talk about cat nutrition.
Thank you again for inviting me.
You
It's a
bet.
pleasure.
And thank you, our viewers of the Paul Report, for joining us for this episode. I'm your host, Kelly Goodwin. Until next time.
Dave's Decorating Center is a proud supporter of the Power Report on WEIU. Dave's Decorating Center features the Mohawk Smart Strand Silk Forever Clean Carpet. Dave's Decorating Center, authorized Mohawk Color Center in Charleston.
The Paw Report on WEIU is supported by Rural King, America's farm and home store, livestock feed, farm equipment, pet supplies, and more. You can find your store and more information regarding Rural King at ruralking.com.
At Tender Touch Grooming, we groom dogs of all sizes and breeds tenderly. Our team pampers your furry friend with care, because every pet deserves a tender touch. Appointments are available via text at 217-317-9489.
It's almost impossible to imagine life without internet today. It keeps us connected to work, school, and loved ones, no matter where they are. Fidium Fiber Internet now serves over 1 million locations, providing reliable, consistent service that keeps these connections strong. From vibrant cities to quiet rural areas, fiber broadband is a key driver of economic growth. Fidium is dedicated to supporting communities and enhancing lives through this essential technology. Learn more at fidiumfiber.com.